In front of you is a Magic the Gathering card. And this isn't a secret lair. This is Sothera, the Supervoid in its special treatment. Edge of Eternities is coming up soon after the release of the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering set, and at MagicCon in Las Vegas, the first spoilers have appeared, which I'm going to show you today. My name is Sergey. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested in Magic the Gathering, and let's take a look at what was presented to us over the course of an hour, but in a much more condensed format. The first thing they showed us was the basic lands, because with this set, for the first time in Magic, except maybe for Universes Beyond and Warhammer 40,000, and Doctor Who, damn, they have a cosmic theme, we see spaceships on the basic land cards. I have to say, they look pretty good. I really like the Forest and Melvin, just fantastic. I probably want a set of mountains for my Mono-Red Zerzoff deck, because there's something kind of devilish about them. Beautiful. Borderless celestial basic lands are in front of us. Next, they showed us the Stellar Sites treatment. And here we have a reprint of Mutavault. Mutavault is a very powerful card. For 1 mana, this land can become a creature with all creature types and still remain a land until end of turn. But Mutavault isn't just available in this version. I think this frame is going to look really beautiful. And here's the spaceship bursting out from the edge of the card. That's also pretty cool, but unfortunately, not everyone will be able to read the card name right away. But here, reading the card will be much easier. This is a Galaxy Foil Borderless Stellar Sites card. You know, Magic the Gathering is a game where sometimes secret lair drops come out with some kind of cosmic theme. And here, Wizards of the Coast really have a chance to go all out, in the best sense of the phrase, with how they showcase the cards. This might end up being one of the most beautiful sets for space lovers. Next, we have some major reprints: Breeding Pool, Godless Shrine, Sacred Foundry, Stomping Ground, and Watery Grave. Watery Grave looks especially beautiful, in my opinion. Godless Shrine and Breeding Pool also have excellent versions. Shock lands. They will be played in Standard. I don't play Standard or other limited or constructed Magic formats. I'm interested in Commander only. For Commander players, these are really great cards to pull from packs if you enjoy opening packs, and it's always useful to upgrade your mana base. And at the same time, this means that the prices of these cards should also go down, which is nice. Next, they showed us a few creatures from this set. Mostly, they showed uncommons. I'll occasionally turn off my camera so you can see the mana cost of these creatures and their full names. A pretty interesting creature has Ward 2 for 5 mana, Harmonious Grove Strider, which says its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. They promised there would be a lot of cards related to lands and landfall. What else did they show us here? Sammy Ship's Engineer isn't the strongest creature for 4 mana, a 2 for that. If you control tapped creatures, create another tapped robot for you at your end step. In Commander, this isn't a very strong effect, but in Draft, or maybe at a pre-release, it could be a pretty solid way to build up your board every turn, and maybe even win you the game on its own. Let's move on. Next, we have a very interesting creature, Tannic, Memorial Ensign, for 1 generic, red and green. It has a landfall trigger. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Tannic deals 1 damage to each opponent. If this ability triggers a second time in the same turn, draw a card. That is, any fetch land in your hand is a card draw and 2 damage. That's insane. It's like Impact Tremors and Skewed Swarm combined. Do you want to have Impact Tremors on the board? Do you want to have Skewed Swarm? Well, in any deck that runs Impact Tremors plus Skewed Swarm, or even Purphoros plus Skewed Swarm, Tannic will be an auto-include, because it does all the same things if you also add the Chocobo from Final Fantasy, which doubles landfall triggers. Damn, that's going to be delicious. You play a fetch land, you have Tannic and Chocobo on the board, you play the fetch, deal 1 damage twice, and draw a card. On your opponent's turn, you crack the fetch, find the land onto the battlefield, again deal 2 damage to each opponent and draw a card. That is amazing. It's so easy, I think. Well, it's about time we legalize mass land destruction in Commander. It is a joke, or it is not. Tannic plus Chocobo, it bananas. It's very easy to play. Only targeted removal works against it. That's a lot of damage. Tannic is really strong. Pay attention to it. Next, we have a new type, Spacecraft. And also, the rules are changing. Now, if you control a legendary artifact vehicle with stat box, it can be your commander. If you have legendary artifact vehicles in your collection, they can be your commanders. Not just Shurikai, now Essica's Chariot and others as well. All these rule changes happen because of Edge of Eternities, and here we have Serima. When Serima enters the battlefield, search your library for up to one legendary creature, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. It has the station activated ability. We could tap another creature we control and put a number of charge counters equal to its power on this spacecraft. Station can be activated only as a sorcery, and when there are 7 or more charge counters, it becomes a creature with flying, and other tapped legendary creatures you control gain indestructible. It will be a 5/5 creature. That's a pretty interesting effect. You can activate Station multiple times. It turns out that we will leave behind several tapped creatures. Ideally, they should have high power or tap synergy. They could have some attack or block restrictions, but by loading this ship up with creatures, we can easily get a flying effect that gives our other legendary creatures indestructible, and it only costs 3 mana. That's pretty interesting. You can use Proliferate to increase the number of counters, and while white cards with Proliferate aren't that great, I think this will probably be used in some multicolor decks, most likely with blue, which can easily take advantage of Proliferate. Let's move on. They showed us Tezzeret, Cruel Captain, a very interesting planeswalker for just 3 mana, and it enters the battlefield with 4 loyalty counters. For -3, you can search your library for an artifact card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Imagine you have a Displacer Kitten in your board. If you have a Displacer Kitten on the battlefield, find a 0 mana artifact, cast it, blink Tezzeret, then -3 to find another 0 mana artifact, cast it, blink Tezzeret, repeat, find a 0, cast it, blink Tezzeret. This way, you can, for example, put all your 0 mana rocks onto the battlefield in a single turn. If you're playing CEDH, this is probably a very powerful effect, especially in a deck like Urza, High Lord Artificer, Tezzeret, Cruel Captain, can be extremely strong. For 0, he untaps another artifact or creature. If it was an artifact creature, put a counter on it, and for -7, he gives you an emblem. The emblem, at the beginning of combat on your turn, puts 3 counters on target artifact you control. If it's not a creature, it becomes a 0/0 robot artifact creature. So basically, we make a 3/3. At the end step, we can turn our clues, treasures, and food tokens into creatures. It's not the strongest effect to get a 3/3 creature out of nothing, but the tutor effect from -3 combined with blink effects can be very, very powerful, maybe overpowered. There's also an alternate version of card, the Borderless Triumphant card, and in his alternate version, Tezzeret, in my opinion, looks a bit cooler. Moving on. Sothera the Supervoid, that's the card I showed you earlier. What is it? It's a legendary enchantment. In my opinion, it's a more fair version of Grave Pact, which requires less black mana to cast. And what does it do? When a creature you control dies, each opponent chooses a creature they control and exiles it. At the beginning of your end step, if a player has no creatures sacrifice Sothera, then return a creature exiled this way to the battlefield under your control with 2 additional +1/+1 counters. So basically, if any of your opponents or you yourself don't have any creatures, you get a creature and sacrifice Sothera. Let's check again if there's any way to reanimate this enchantment from the graveyard and get this effect again. When a creature comes under your control, each opponent chooses a creature they control and exiles it, not under the enchantment. Although the wording says cards exiled with it, in this combination, it probably means they'll go under Supervoid, under Sothera, so it won't really work to use creatures that were previously exiled. We'll have to exile enemy creatures all over again, but really, what's the big deal for us? We'll just keep exiling. The Japanese showcase is probably already a tradition for Magic. And here's this super version, which you've also seen. They tried to make the center as black as possible, so it looks like light can't reach it at all. Well, it looks beautiful. It really does. But it feels like it's another secret lair kind of thing. Next, they showed us 2 commander decks. Not the full decks, just their generals. And here we have the black-red-green deck, Zeril, Genesis Shepherd. Shepherd is thinking about being able to play lands from the graveyard. And when you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, you put a number of counters equal to its power on another target creature. So here, Wizards are going to teach players to sacrifice their lands, which, in my opinion, isn't the best strategy because most players are usually afraid to sacrifice their lands. But if you can handle this precon, if it's well built, we don't know that yet, if you can handle this precon, you'll become a stronger player. Because things like exile, sacrificing your own lands, sacrificing your own creatures, these aren't always obvious things, especially for new players. And that's a skill you need to develop, in my opinion. When you could able to develop that skill, you could become a better player. Let's move on. Next up, we have Kilo, Apogee Mind. This is another commander from Jeskai deck, the blue-red-white one, who focuses on attacking and proliferates whenever it becomes tapped. We can tap and untap it using various effects. That way, we can increase the number of counters specifically on creatures like these with station triggers, with the station activated ability, as long as they have at least one counter on them. So, if we have Serima on the battlefield, we can use its station ability to tap our Kilo, and that will trigger proliferate, which is pretty amusing. And these tap-on-tap effects can be used considering that this is an artifact creature, Clock of Omens, for example. I wouldn't be surprised if Clock of Omens is actually included in the precon. That would be pretty funny. It's a card that lets you untap a target artifact by tapping 2 artifacts, and in some cases, this can go infinite. But infinite combos in precons, we're almost used to that by now. Let's move on. They showed us Avatar Aang. This is not included in that set. It's future, the next set after Edge of Eternities. It will come out at the end of the year. We're getting a set based on Avatar, The Last Airbender. And you know, this is a set I'm personally really looking forward to. I love Avatar. It's an amazing animation series. The Legend of Korra is also an amazing cartoon, an incredible story, well written, with good humor. If you haven't watched it, you should. And they showed us a 5-color commander. Honestly, this really makes me want to build my first 5-color commander, let it be Aang. Even though he only has 4 colors here, he doesn't have black, but he still becomes a master of the elements, and on the other side, when he transforms, he has all 5 colors. What do we see here? We have a firebending trigger. It's still unknown what that is. Firebending too, and there are other triggers. Waterbend, Earthbend, Firebend, Airbend. In any case, whenever you do some kind of bending, draw a card, and Firebending 2 says, draw a card twice, so you draw 2 cards? Then, if you bend 4 times, transform him. Apparently, we've played him, and maybe you need to attack with him to trigger this ability. I don't know. We don't know yet. Yeah, also, during each upkeep, we can transform him back. If you do that, then draw 4 cards, gain 4 life, put 4 counters on him, and he deals 4 damage to each opponent. And since this trigger happens every upkeep, maybe we want a deck with extra upkeeps. If only we could transform Aang before every upkeep. Sounds sweet. I'd like to build something like that, and for me, it's a reason to start thinking right now about synergy elements like Ally. I think cards with Ally are going to go up in price, so it's worth looking for good Alliance members for yourself to make Avatar Aang work a little better. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for your attention. This was Sergey. Subscribe to the channel if you like what you saw, and leave a comment about what you think of what Wizards of the Coast presented to us in Las Vegas. Bye.